working real hard on some pesky problems at my day job. You know, those bugs that make you wanna quit your job and maybe pick up woodworking, plumbing, or something where applying brute force is actually part of the job. And this got me thinking. Everybody and their neighbor's cat is talking about ChatGPT.
This fucking ChatGPT shit.
How the f did it do that?
Ask it. Let's do it live.
So can I offload some of this work I'm doing to some AI? Like on the scale of 1 to I better think of another career, where are we right now? So I came up with a real world test. I wanted to build a project I had in mind for a long time now and use ChatGPT to help me out. So what's the project? Well, recently I did a typing competition with my buddy Michal here at work, and we used this website called Monkey Type.
It's called Monkey Type.
Ever since then, I always thought that this kind of typing test makes no fucking sense, because all you do is type some random words, and that's not really representative of coding. I mean, at least not on paper. So I wanted to make a better version of that. My idea is to use snippets of code from iconic GitHub repositories like the Linux kernel, React, or TensorFlow as the base for the typing test. So let's do it. I picked up my stuff and I went ahead to the closest coffee place to work on it, all with the intention to use ChatGPT to the greatest extent possible and really test the shit out of it. I decided to start off easy with questions I already know that it can answer well. CSS reset? Easy. Light and dark mode in CSS? Sure. I even asked it to use CSS variables and no problem at all. Now for the game itself. Let me actually show you the final product. So here's the game. I really wanted it to have this terminal emulator vibe. So first you select an example repository and then you're given 45 seconds to type the code. At the end you're presented with your score. You can actually head out and play this on my website. The link is in the description. Let me know what your score is in the comments and also add what keyboard you're using. I'd really like to know. Before we continue, a quick mention of Squarespace. I've been using Squarespace to host my website for a long time because I'm busy working on many projects, and Squarespace makes it so easy for me to create pages about everything I'm doing. It took me less than 5 minutes to create this one, for example. Oh, while you're there, check out my free wallpapers pack too. If you're looking to start a new website, maybe for a side project or a professional portfolio, Squarespace got you covered. There is a huge list of templates to get you started, and make sure to check out the link in the description or use the code Marco to get a nice discount as well. Next, I wanted to make the blinking cursor animation, and that's when I first discovered just how important it is to specify the details of what you want. It generated the CSS animation, but the cursor wasn't really blinking, it was more like fading in and out, so I had to clarify my requirements. This was still faster than Googling and reading the CSS documentation for sure. Next up, I asked it to make a command prompt in JavaScript in HTML. It gave me a great starting point, but I wasn't sure how to go from there to my actual app with a few short follow-up questions. And this is where I started to hit the main limitation of ChatGPT, which is actually me, the user. It's the fact that natural language is very ambiguous, vague, imprecise, I mean actually fucking difficult to use. If I look back at the different solutions it gave me, truth be told, they were all doing what I requested, and yet none of them were what I wanted. And this is because there was a lot of room for interpretation in what I was asking it to do. So to specify something precisely, I had to write a very long description. That in itself is a huge effort. I mean, I found myself writing things like, typing game that looks like a terminal emulator, but while the user is typing, make sure to update the correct characters count, and if it's white space we do this except when it's a new line, and on and on and on. And then you hit generate and it gives you something that covers all the points, but it's still not what you wanted, because there was some detail you missed, and then you look at your already long and complicated description, you scratch your head and you go fuck. So I decided to call it a day and go home to relax a bit. Tomorrow morning was a fresh new day and I was excited to work on this for some more. Now the reason I showed you in the beginning what the finished game looks like is because I couldn't think of the right words to describe it to you as a human with all the interactions and everything. I mean, we would still be talking about how white space is being handled. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and just last night they came out with ChatGPT 4. It can actually understand these kinds of UI sketches, and everybody is getting so hyped about this. But let's look at their example in a bit more detail.
And here we go. JavaScript, filled in the jokes. For comparison, this was the original of our mockup.
Notice that the UI sketch for this super basic website already covers almost all the available paper, and it only describes 2 buttons with hard-coded jokes. Sure, it's impressive, but if you try to describe a more complicated UI, you need a much bigger paper, and still you need to draw a lot of these pictures. And that's a lot of effort. And the more pictures you draw, and the more complicated they are, the higher the chances that there will be some gaps or confusion, and the quality of the result would suffer. Again, the AI is not the bottleneck. It's the nature of sketches and natural language descriptions. They leave a lot to be desired. To me personally, it was easier to write 200 lines of precise code that I know is getting me exactly where I want to go than to write 400 words of explanation and draw 10 pictures that might or might not get me what I want. Maybe that's just because I'm used to coding this kind of stuff. Maybe a better test would be to code in another language, or ask the AI to just make a fun typing game and lean into its creativity. But on this project, honestly, in the final code base, there are bits and pieces like some of the styling, the CSS reset, and this one line to automatically scroll the terminal to the bottom that actually came from the AI, and everything else I did myself, because it was less effort and it was direct and without any back and forth. I'm sure we as a community will come up with ways to use it more effectively than I did. I'm curious, how would you describe the app that I made? Would you start with drawings? Would you start with words? If my boss is watching this and you're plotting to replace me,
in exactly 5 days, we will be $100 billion richer.
feel free to chime in the comments. But on a general note, will AI be able to replace us as developers entirely? Let me know. After making this video, I did find some amazing use cases while coding my other side project that are both easy to describe and remarkably useful, and I'll be sharing those in my upcoming vlog. So if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe.